Welcome back to another episode. In today's topic, I want to discuss, some of the information we've heard about the DNC hacks. It's been taking over the headlines over the past couple of days and over the past couple of weeks about, what has been released. So I wanted to talk about this whole entire topic, and give you a little bit of insight into some history in the process of campaigns and elections getting hacked. So a couple of months ago, I came across this article. It was in Bloomberg.com, and the topic was how to hack an election. And it talks about this individual who rigged elections throughout Latin America for almost a decade. And he tells the story, for the first time in this article. It's a very long article. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description section below, and I really think it's good for you to check it out. It's a good read, and it gives you some insight to some of the behind the scenes tactics that have been used in some really negative campaigns, and some of the tactics they use to win elections. He pretty much, just to give you a gist, he pretty much made it his business to hack campaigns, disseminate untruthful information, and to pretty much put a negative image on the opposition. He got paid, very well for it, $12,000, $20,000, per month. In some cases he made a lot more than that. It talks about how, some of the tools and tactics they used. He put together a group of hackers in order to operate in some areas, and he was, often paid in cash. So this is a good article. Take a look at it. It goes into deep detail about how they were able to break into email accounts. Sounds very familiar. Break into some of the social media accounts to deface the accounts. Let me guess. Let me see. So the hacker gets in to the opposition's Twitter account and puts up a fake picture that goes viral, and it's a bad picture that goes viral, then sheds negative light on the individual. That can definitely damage a campaign. So this talks about some of that process. And again, this is from a reputable publication from Bloomberg. So definitely take a look at it. So there's another article from the New York Times. It talks about, the frightening question about what's next after the DNC hack. And this is definitely another article you should take a look at. It goes deeper into, potentially why the hack took place. It talks about, some of the risks that are attributed to the hacks. And, it talks about how this is something we, probably will see more often. Just glancing over some of the information here, we see this image here about the movie The Interview, and that reminds us of the hack that, reportedly North Korea did against Sony. And Sony's a major corporation, and they were hacked. So it talks about that, and it talks about how to respond, to this situation. One thing to note, it does highlight the fact that last year the Federal Office of Personnel Management announced that hackers had breached its computers and stolen vast quantities of data gathered for security clearances and background checks. Now, we hear about these hacks against, the DNC and Hillary's email server, and about how, damaging it is, and, how, we're led to believe that that the government is a little bit better at securing this information, but that's not always necessarily the case. This article highlights about how the Federal Office of Personnel Management, was hacked. Millions and millions and millions of people's information was breached, and there was a data dump involved where, very important information like the employees, relationships, finances, private information. In some cases, there was, some information about the, where social security numbers were, disseminated in the data dump, and those were on protected servers. And this just goes into the whole entire, understanding that anything that's connected to a network or anything that can be accessed can be hacked or can get breached. There is no 100% hack-proof system out there. So that needs to be understood. So this article just talks about that a little bit. And then Wired has a good article. Talks about, a little bit about the DNC hack. And it talks about how there's a potential connection that people are making. And, this is something we have to be careful of because obviously, there's going to be a lot of finger pointing between people and who's responsible. And, one person will say this individual is responsible and then another person will deny it and loose associations will be made. So you want to be very careful. So, definitely read as much information as you can, to make a determination on what you, conclude, potentially led to this. But in this article, it's talking about how there's a connection between, candidate Trump and, the Russian government. So that's from Wired. And then in this Wired article, which is a little bit more recent, it talks about some of the latest revelations. It talks about 20,000 private emails that were made public by WikiLeaks. And it, obviously a lot of this stuff was reported in major periodicals. It goes deeper into the analysis by CrowdStrike, which is a security firm that was hired by the DNC to analyze the hack. And, it goes deeper into that. And then this article over here, talks about how the FBI suspects Russia hacked the DNC and how U.S. officials say it was to elect Donald Trump. So this is asking the question about, is there a connection between the two? So again, you got to be very careful with the stuff because, there's a lot of finger pointing and a lot of unknowns at this point. But you do have to, read up on as much information as you can to try to come up with a conclusion. But here it says that the FBI suspects the Russian government hackers breached the networks of the DNC and stole the emails that were posted to the anti-secrecy site WikiLeaks. And it says the officials now suspect was a deliberate attempt to influence the presidential election in favor of Donald Trump. So this is a speculation. This is, something that some people are, thinking might be a connection. So now let's think about this for a second. Let's talk about this. Why would, Russia or any government want to get involved in our political process? Let me see. We're superpowers, right? The United States, Russia, and other countries that are superpowers. Maybe they don't want to take direct military action, but maybe they want to do an indirect approach by hacking elections, to sway the public by disseminating false information or information that was thought to be private. And by doing so, they may be able to elect somebody that they believe would be better for their foreign policy. So that's, part of the discussion of why the FBI suspects, the Russian government has been involved. And, it's, is it working? We don't know yet. It's, the campaign is a few months away. And, public opinion is going to change back and forth between now and then. But, the potential for a government to intervene in the campaign of another government and the election of a president, nonetheless, that's troubling. We have to be mindful that, when it comes to politics and when it comes to elections, there's always going to be a lot of, people manipulating the process. But this takes it to a new level where it's one government influencing the results of another government. It's not anything new. Like I mentioned earlier from a previous article here in Bloomberg, it's a practice that's been going on for a very long time. So this is nothing new, nothing just starting off now. But it's something that we are being made more aware of. So, when you start hearing about these emails, being disseminated, you got to start thinking to yourself, why are they being sent out? Who benefits from it? Is this information being released, altruistically, and with no intention to impact an election? Or is this a coordinated effort by individuals to, hack an election. So that's something that, that we have to determine, and we have to be careful of. In the next couple of months, we have a very important presidential election, and it'll be sad if we allow outside forces to influence our decision-making process. Now, my belief is you should vote for the candidate you feel will best represent you in that particular office. Maybe it's a Democrat, maybe it's a Republican, maybe it's maybe you cross party lines and vote for someone that's not part of your party, and that's fine. But you should make the decision based on information that is relevant and and isn't manipulated by external forces. So this article just goes about deeper into that. And then Slate has an article about how the U.S. could respond to the DNC breach. Sanctions are an option, and so is heckling. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Let's see. Talks about one option is public denouncement of the hack itself. In this section, it talks about the North Korea hacking Sony and what happened after that. Sanctions that can be imposed, to those who were involved, and where public denouncement and sanctions don't work, possibly legal actions can be pursued. And then in this section, it talks about in-domain retaliation, where the government could take a more offensive role in cybersecurity, in terms of attacking other governments and stuff. Now this is the next level type of warfare between governments. We've heard about it in the past, where one government hacks into other governments' accounts. We see it on TV shows like Scorpion and like Mr. Robot, which is a very popular TV show on the USA Network. So this is showing how the next generation of warfare might just be all online. And then obviously they can do some heckling, which is funnier, I guess, where the two countries just go back and forth, expelling the diplomats, doing things that are not as direct or whatever. And then or we could just take it on the chin, and just say that this is part of the process, and just keep on moving forward. Basically, my goal is to just give you some information on what's taking place. We know that the DNC servers were hacked, and then we have to find out why they were hacked. And then I just wanted to give you some information about the history of elections getting hacked, just to give you some insight that this is something that's not new. So where do we go from here? What's the takeaway from this? Well, we have to decide, as a society, are we going to allow this type of manipulation to impact the results of an election? Does this mean that the next president, being elected may or may not be directly elected or elected by free decision? Because if we're being manipulated, then that means that potentially, we're not making informed decisions, proper informed decisions. So the takeaway is pretty much, let's do some research on this. Let's try to analyze the information presented before us to determine, how accurate it is, what the motivation behind it was, and how much weight we should give that in terms of the overall election of a president. Does this mean that the DNC servers were easily hackable while the Republican servers were not, or that Trump's servers are more secure? Probably not. I mean, the reality is every system can get hacked into. there is no 100% hack-proof system. So these were targeted hacks, and now we have to determine who was behind them. So hopefully you found this episode helpful. I'll leave a link to these articles in the description section below. And I just wanted to give you some information about what's on the news recently and what we should take away from it. The elections are coming up. Vote for the person that best represents your ideas and your beliefs, and don't let outside influences dictate your vote. So that's just pretty much what I wanted to mention. All right, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give us a thumbs up. And if you have any thoughts or ideas, leave them in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe, because I'll go more into topics such as this, just keeping you up to date on the latest in terms of cybersecurity and any impacts that hacks may have on on our way of life. And also check out some of my other tutorials where I go into into conversation about what how to build a website and how to secure your website. All right, thanks for watching. Take care.